confident in who you are and what you're doing. Good on you. But what if you don't? Well, the Women's Business Club covers Cheltenham and Gloucester and the areas surrounding it, and aims to get women together to network and share problems and to sort of swap ideas as well. Now it's targeting specifically mums in business. Just how do you juggle phone calls, emails, meetings, and a breastfeeding baby? Well, earlier I spoke to Director of the Women's Business Club, Angela de Souza, about her own experience.
I think women do business differently. They network differently. And so a lot of what I focus on in Women's Business Club is actually helping the women gain confidence. When they become more confident, then they can go into mixed networking and just feel much more sure of who they are. I think what happens with women is they're good at something, and so they want to start a business around that something that they're good at, but they're not necessarily good at business. And that's half the problem. And so they're at home, they're doing the thing they love doing, but they're not very good at getting the thing that they love doing out there and making money from it. And that's why a lot of women in business fail or just really don't get anywhere. And it's really about, you do need to have good business skills to run a business. You can't just be good at something. And so for many women, I either suggest outsource some of the things you're not good at, or just accept that you shouldn't be in business, or grow in those areas that, I mean, I certainly had to force myself to grow with my telephone calls, because I hate phones. You know, easy and comfortable to stay home and do what you love doing, but that doesn't mean you're a businesswoman.
Classic mistake then. What's the absolute typical thing that we do wrong?
We are too generous. We don't charge what we're worth, and we tend to be suckers for freebies, discounts, or just do me a little favor. Most women fall into that trap, and you just simply can't build a business on that. It doesn't mean you're not kind. It doesn't mean there aren't occasions when you're going to do things like that. But I think generally most women are just not confident. Again, boils down to confidence, but not confident in charging what they're worth and sticking to it. I have 4 children, and I've always been in business. And
how old are your children?
I have a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 22-year-old. So I've been doing this for a while.
And there's the question immediately, how could you possibly do that and still run a business?
Yes, I do remember sitting in a car once, kind of breastfeeding my baby, and then having to go into a meeting and thinking, what am I doing? This is crazy. And then having my other daughter holding the baby while I went into the meeting, making sure his tummy is full, coming out again. Anyway, I have done a few crazy things to juggle, but I don't know, I couldn't not do it. I just love what I do, and I love the balance between family and home life. You know, I don't let one suffer. I try and keep the balance. There were quite a few mums that loved the concept of Women's Business Club but couldn't come because they had little ones at home with them, either didn't want to pay the childcare cost or just didn't want to leave their children. And so I thought, well, that's an easy problem to solve. Just bring your children along. I've done business with my children. Before my youngest went to school, she came with me to all my meetings.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
How do people react when you turned up with a child?
That's just how I did it. If they didn't like it, then I didn't want to do business with them anyway, because that's who I am. So my little girl, she's amazing. She knew the drill. She would get her own little drink, she'd bring her crayons and her drawing stuff, and she'd be quiet during my meetings. Because she was born into it. That was our life. And she just said, both my children, my youngest ones, they just know that that's how it works. They get their time. They know that when it's their time, they get my undivided attention. But when I'm working, it's my time. And maybe I'm just really blessed, but it has worked for me. I know for some it might not work, because it does depend on temperaments of your children as well. It's not about children being naughty or good.
And do you ever think that you gained or lost work specifically because of your child being in that meeting?
I haven't personally, but I have heard of some women that have lost clients because one in particular said that this client said to the woman, I don't want to deal with someone who has to do a school run, and she lost the client specifically just because she was a mum. I haven't experienced that, but I think it can happen.
Angela de Souza then from the Women's Business Club, which covers Cheltenham and Gloucester, about her own experience, not only being a businesswoman but of being a mum of 4 running that business. Or Julia Hallewell was a primary school teacher at one point when she decided and kind of overlapped the whole thing to start her home-based business Forever Living locally, which sells aloe vera and beehive products. I believe she was also pregnant and had a 5-year-old. Is that right, Julia?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And what possessed you to try and do all this at the same time then?
I was introduced to Forever, and I just, when I looked at it, it was from a very, very good friend, and I thought, if there's something in it for her, then I'm definitely going to have a look at this. And then after starting with Forever, I've been with the company now 6 years. 2 years after, I was enabled me to give up teaching because I thought I'd actually done my PGCE, the qualification to become a teacher, when my eldest child was only a year old, and I missed out on a lot of time because of teaching and the PGCE training with her. When I was 6 months pregnant, I thought, I don't want to do this again. I want to find something that I can do from home around my children, and it has enabled me to do that, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and the things that you wanted to do with your child that you felt you'd missed out on last time, what were things like what?
Oh, sports days, their school performances. Now I go on the school trips if I can. Well, when I decide to. I suppose it's me deciding which school trips I want to go on. If it's in the winter months, yeah, that's it, absolutely. No, it's giving me choices, so I can actually choose to do what I like when I like with my children, which is brilliant.
Angela, as we were hearing there, there were moments, pretty hairy moments, where she was trying to keep all those balls up in the air. Can you empathise? Can you see how that can happen, or have you had that experience yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have moments with our children and that you've got to juggle things around. I've got great support with my parents. They're absolutely phenomenal because they moved up from London, actually. They're retired, so they can help out. But I like Angela said, I take my children with me to events.
So you do that as well?
Absolutely. I work with a lot of other mums within Forever Living and help train them. And we've actually done a playgroup before, a foot spa party for the mums, because obviously they can't go out and pamper themselves too much. And the children were getting involved. We had little splash pools for them. So I help gauge my team and the mums that I help to gauge it around their children as well. So it doesn't have to be separate from their family life.
Yeah. But I would be distracted. That'd be the honest truth of it. I'd be distracted. If I had, my daughter's 10 now, but when the thought of her at 4 being in the corner of the room colouring, and that's all well and good while she's colouring, and then suddenly she's not, and she's wandering off and she's picking up some priceless ornament in somebody's office. I mean, that's what would worry me. I would be not giving 100% to anything. Yeah, that's what I'd be concerned about.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I think I felt the same way when I first started. I thought, because my daughter, when I first started, was 5, and like I say, I was pregnant. She's now, my eldest is 11, and my youngest is coming up to 6. So I've, been through all the stages through, they needed breastfeeding or they needed to be fed. So there are things within Forever that you can do with your children. There are a few things that you think, well, actually, this is a very important business meeting. I'd rather my children not be there. But the majority of the time we can arrange it with the children around there.
Because I think people might take you less seriously, not you personally, but anybody less seriously. Okay, seriously, if you're turning up with your children, that's not, that's not somebody I want to take seriously.
I think, depending on the actual meeting, if it is with a high-flying business person, then you gauge it for that particular person.
Hello, Mum. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't necessarily take your children with them then. But then I work for, like I say, a lot of mums, and I thought, well, this is something I'm going to be in for a very, very long time, so I'm going to do my business around my children now. Then when they go to school, then I'll be able to go and talk to other people and perhaps expand into other markets then.
Do you miss the teaching?
I miss the children, the actual teaching, and they choose when you have to have your holidays and the assessment and all the paperwork that comes with it. It's not necessarily actually teaching anymore. There's a lot of stress that comes with that. So no, I don't miss the stress and the clock watching. And with teaching, you even have to plan to go to the toilet because you can't just walk out of the classroom at any given time. Everything is structured. So now it's quite, it's nice to actually decide when I want to.
Going to the toilet now. Well, to go hang with my toilet time. Who knew? You see, that's the reality of it.
There we are.
Good to speak to you. Thank you very much. Then the realities that have been a Mum in Business Julia Hallewell then. And the next Mums in Business meeting is on Tuesday. That's the 22nd of April, 10 till midday. And they take place every 2 weeks. And that's at the Fairview, which is 83 Hewlett Road, just around the time for the Banksy, because he's a Banksy, wasn't it? That is 10 till 12 then on Tuesday. They take place every fortnight, and the next one is at the Fairview, 83 Hewlett Road, and that is in Cheltenham.